Hi everyone, welcome to Redesign series, and today is the challenge to redesign the Uber app home screen, and we will try to improve the overall UI UX of the existing home screen. So let's start. Okay, so here we are inside Figma, and the first thing we need is to create our artboard. So for creating artboard, let's select frame by hitting F key on the keyboard and select iPhone 16 base size and rename this to challenge 2. Press shift 2 on the keyboard to zoom to selection and click on the layout grid option. Instead of grid we will be using column, so let's make it 4 column. For the color I think blue is fine, so let's try some light blue color. For the margin let's try 16 and gutter both 16 pixel. Okay, next we need to click on the assets, and in the search let's type status bar. So let's see if we can find status bar. So here is our status bar. Let's grab it to the artboard and align it to the top, and here is our artboard. Okay, so first we need to zoom in and let's create the two main tabs at the top of the existing app. Like here is write and here the another one will be eats. So let's select type tool and here we will just type writes. Okay, and from the text style let's see if we have body text. So yeah, here, and let's select emphasize. Okay, and next we need to select the color. For the color let's try to use black, so we will select black. Okay, and now we need to select both icon. Just copy, we will paste it here, and let's rename this to write and eats. Now select both and click on the drop down and create multiple component. Next we need to click on the combine as variant. So here tab icons. Now we will press option key and just copy one icon here. Okay, and now let's see if it is working or not. So let's select icon and click on eats. So both are working. Okay, so we will select right and let's rename this from the property one type. And now let's bring this icon here with the text and select both. Press shift A for the auto layout, and we will be using 12 is fine. Okay, next we need to select rectangle, and for width let's cover these two columns and press -8. Okay, and for the height let's try to use 4. For the color we will be using black because this is the selected one. And now select both and convert it to auto layout, and let's try to make it 16 gap. Okay, now let's convert it to components. So press option command K, and here we will just type tab 1 and let's create a variant. Let's type eats and writes. Okay, here we will just type eat and write. So let's make it eats. For the icon we have already created variant, so which is easy for us. And for here let's make it to gray 6. Okay, and now let's bring it here. This is the component, and we will press the option key and let's copy one tab icon here. And now let's duplicate this, select both, and let's try to align it to the left and right. Let's change this to eats and select both, convert it to auto layout. Let's make it center line, and for the spacing let's try to use 24 center line. So here is our tab bar. Okay, so now it's time to create the input field. So let's create those input. First we need to select frame tool and create frame, align it. Okay, so it will be easy to assign some color, so let's try to use gray 6. Next we need to align it with this width. For the height let's try to use 44. For the radius let's try to use full. So this is the base. Okay, so next we need to select type tool, and here we will type current location. So this is just simple text, so we will make it regular. And subheading, let's try to use, maybe this is fine, so let's try to use subheading. And for the color let's make it gray. In the assets let's try to use pen, and here is press K on the keyboard, and here we will type 16. Cut this, paste inside frame. Now select all these like text, icon and input base and convert it to auto layout. Okay, next let's align it to the left side and make it 16. I think 16 is fine. And for the left and right 16 and 12 for the top and bottom. So this is the current location. And next we need to convert this to components. So press option command K. This is input. Let's try to use input, and let's create variant. Let's try to make it, or maybe we can just call this build. Okay, and make it input. So this one is default and this one is filled. Okay, so for the fill, let's try to use emphasize and make it black, and change icon we will change it later. So let's bring it here or maybe here. Okay, and let's bring one icon with the option key, sorry, one element with the option key. Let's place it here. So this is normal one. Now let's duplicate this with the option key, and so 16 is fine, and select filled, and this one is already filled. So let's say it's already created a work, so the work address is here and it's already selected, and we will change icon for the search. Let's make it 1.5. okay, and here is our input. Okay, now let's create some favorite selection. Like for example, if I favorite any location, for example work, home, so it will show here. So minimum 3 will show here. So I have already listed the icons. So here is a home, work, and some recent. Okay, so these are the 3 icons. Let's select all these, and here we will click on these more option, and let's create component set. Let's name this icons. Okay, and here we will select work, sorry, home. So let's rename this home. So let's select one icon. Let's make it 16. Let's select frame, and here instead of fill, we can also select white for the fill, and let's try to use gray. This 5, make it full. Okay, and for the height, let's use 40. 40 is clickable, so let's use 40. Okay, next we need to select type tool, and we will type home. For this text, let's make it small. So I think 13 regular will be fine. Let's make it black and convert it to auto layout. Make it 8, and let's try to use 16 for the left and right. Let's make it 8. I think 8 is fine. As we can see, we can just convert this to component. Okay, and let's create variant. So this one is normal, this one is, let's try to select it. Okay, and here we will just type. Okay, and let's make it tab 1 and make it random. Okay, it's good practice to make it random. And here the selected one, let's try to use remove the fill, and for the stroke, let's make it black and make those white. So now these are the 2 tabs. Bring it here. Let's make it favorite, just simple. Let's click on the prototype, and here we can just link both on. So interaction on tab, change type, and instant is fine. So if I press again, so let's make it reverse. Okay, now just simply press the option key and duplicate this. Okay, and here we can just simply press option key and convert it to auto layout. So let's duplicate this 3 times. Now select, and let's try to use 8. 8 is fine. Let's make it home. These are the small tabs, and now select this one and make selected. Okay, and here we can just make it work. For the color, make it white, and as we can see, make it resize. So let's try to use 1.5. For the recent, let's use this icon and make it 1.5. And I think for these 2 text, let's try to use medium, and medium looking perfect. So these are the small tabs, and now let's create the main categories for choose a ride, and also we will create a label for the search and the main categories. Okay, so let's create. Select again the type tool and align it to the left side. We have title 2, 3, so let's use 3. Let's see, it's looking good, and let's turn on grid, and 24 is fine. Let's duplicate this, and this time let's try to use, instead of semi-bold, we will use medium. Let's make it filter. Okay, so filter, and here we will search for the filter icon. I think this simple icon is good. Press K. Let's try to use 16. Convert it to auto layout. 24 is fine. So here is our title, and choose filter icon. Okay, next we just need to create a label for the search. So let's press option key and duplicate this. Now let's detach the instant, because we don't need to recreate the same thing again. So let's just duplicate this. For the text, let's make it fill container, left align. For this icon, we will be using, I think this is fine. So okay, and let's search for the alert. let's use both icon. Okay, press K and let's make it 16. For this one, let's try to use 16, and now we just need to simply replace it. Paste to replace and paste to replace. Okay, and here we will just change the text. Now let's remove this color and let's see if we have alert. Yeah, we can use this color. It's looking good. And this is the search. 16 is fine. So here is our label. Maybe we can make it regular, and let's convert it to component and rename this to banner, or maybe let's try to use alert. Okay, duplicate this and paste master component here. Now let's create the main categories. Okay, so for the category, let's again select the frame, turn on grid, and for the corner radius, let's try to use small. Maybe small is fine. Let's see. And for the color, let's try to use the same gray we are using for the category. 16 is fine, so let's use 16. Okay, and for these icon, let's do the same thing. These are the main icon. We will do the same thing like here, create multiple component, combine as variant. Okay, so let's rename this. Paste it here. Instead of 40, let's try to use 24. First we need to place the icon, so 16 is fine. Center line, select text tool, we'll type right, or maybe we can just type title. Let's try to find some for the headline. Maybe call out will work. Black. Okay, center line. Maybe subheadline is fine, so let's use subheadline. Okay, and let's try to use footnote. 13 is fine, so this will be, try to use caption, or maybe we can do one thing like this one will be caption regular, and make this one is caption 1 emphasized. Okay, now convert this to component. Okay, and okay, so this one will be, and here is some spacing issue, so let's increase. Let's try to use all these hub, and now just simply duplicate this and let's see for the spacing. I think 12 is fine, so let's convert this to auto layout. For this one, let's use two wheels. Here we just need simply to change this to. Okay, so now as we can see, I have changed name of the every card. So this one is two-wheel rental and schedule, and also I tried to change the icon, but as we can see the icon is cut off. And let's see what's the issue. So the main issue which I find here, so first let's change the color of this main area. So let's make it slightly darker, something like this. Okay, and now as we can see the width of this is different, this one is different, this one is different, and this one is different. Okay, so the main issue is of the width. And the height, I can see the height is 40 of all these icons, which is okay, but let's select and repeat this process again. So let's duplicate this. Now we are going to fix the issue. So for this, right click and make it detach instance. Okay, so after detach instance, select the inside frame and make it left and top. Okay, and next we need to select the main frame of each category, and let's try to use 64, which is the maximum width of one element. So we will match all the element to 64, and also the height 64. So this will be a square box. So now let's select this rectangle, let's try to make it 64. So the mask of every object need to be selected, so this one and this one. Okay, so let's try make it 64 by 64. Okay, so now as we can see the object is not placed in the center, so let's try to make it in the center, something like this. Okay, so we can try to make it center line. Okay, and now select this one and also make it center line. So we are visually aligning it. So I'm using the existing app icon which is looking good, so that's why I'm using the PNG of the whole screen and mask the specific icon area. So now as we can see, I have aligned it to the center, but if you want to make it to see, you can just turn on ruler by shift R and drag guide. So as we can see, the baseline is equal, so we are good to go. Now the second step is to rename. So for this, let's try to make it right. So now these are the 4 icons. We will do the same thing, select all these and click create component set. And now let's make it categories. So let's try to rename this again categories. So in the asset, as we can see, now we have 2 categories and we need 1. So let's trash this one, and now we have just 1 categories. We have almost resolved the issue. So now let's cut this and paste inside here. So paste to replace, and here just simply align the text, the icon, and select background. Try to match with the icon background. So now it's looking perfect. Here we are with the icon. So now let's simply change the icon to 2 wheel. This one is rental, this one is sketch. The main issue now, we learned that for the component and especially variants components, we need a pix width and height for each element. No matter the height of this keychain icon, which is different, and the width is different, but we will try to keep in the same frame size. Okay, we have done our categories. Now let's move to the second section of this screen and let's create it. Okay, so now we need to create a promo, just a link so the user can click on it. So for this, let's try and select text tool. Okay, so now let's select, we have already iOS system, so let's try to use footnote emphasize. Okay, and this is looking good. For the color, we will be using blue color, so let's try to use blue color. Here we need icon, so let's search for the icon, try to use this. We have library, so let's use this icon, simple design. Okay, and status, I think this one looking good, so let's use this one. Okay, so let's try to make it 16 by 16. So instead of doing this way, let's select scale tool and let's make it 16 by 16. Let's align it both, try to change the color to blue. Okay, and for the spacing, let's try to use 8 center line. Also try to align this, and for the spacing we will be using 24 because 24 we have used here, so here is also 24. It's looking good. Okay, so now we are going to create our main CTA. So for the CTA, let's select text tool and let's type. So for the conform right and text, I think this is looking good, so let's make this one and press shift A to convert it to auto layout. Let's make it 16 for the left and right fading and 16 for the top and bottom, and let's change the color so then we can see the changes. Try to make the text white, so let's type white. We have white, so let's make it white. And for the corner radius, let's try to use full, completely round. And for the width, let's make it width of the grid. Okay, and as we can see here, we make it 16, but in the height it's 50. So as we are going to follow a 8-point system. Okay, so as we can see, we have made 16 by 16 fading for both left and right, top and bottom. Okay, so as we can see here in the height, it's now 50, so align it with the 8 pixel grid system. So let's make it 48. So this is hard value, but easy for the developer to know that we are following 8-point grid system. Okay, and let's try to align it with the 24. Let's make it central line and also try to align it with the grid. This is our CTA. Okay, now let's turn off grid, and as we can see, here is our CTA. So we also need to convert this to component by pressing shift command K, and let's rename this to CTA main. Let's duplicate this, select this one and command X. Now let's paste it here, but it is a good practice to create another page, and this one is component, this one is UI design. So for this component, let's select all these. This one is also, let's try to move page. Let's make it to the component. So now as we can see, we move these to the components page. Okay, and here we just simply need to create a frame so that we can easily see all the components, and we can also rename this to components here or UI design. Okay, and here is our promo code. Okay, so now we need to create another small CTAs. One is here and one is here. Okay, so the first one is split pair, and let's create first one and then we will move to second one. Okay, so now let's make it regular because this one is not that much prominent, so let's make it regular. Let's make it dark color, convert it to auto layout. Also same thing for this, make it full. Here corner radius, so let's make it full. Okay, and apply stroke. Try to use this light color, looking good. And for the top and bottom, for this one let's try to use 12, and for this one let's try to use 16. Okay, so let's fix the height to 40 by following 8 point. So height is really matter, but width is doesn't matter, so let's make it 40 to match with the 8-point grid system. And let's search for the user icon for the split, looking good, so grab this one. So now again simply press K and make it 16, so this one is looking good. Okay, so for the center gap let's try to use 8, same spacing 24 here. Let's convert this to component, and we don't need to use master component, so select this one. And okay, so this one let's delete this one, and we have already named this, so just select this one and move to component. Okay, so we have now secondary, so this one, and now simply duplicate. Let's try. Okay, so this one is for this icon. Let's change this one, so we will be using here. So we can also share time of arrival. Okay, I think let's try to use this icon. We can simply use arrow. Let's make the width to 1.5. okay, so both are the same. Now these are the sub CTA, and this one is the main. Okay, so now let's create tab bar. So for the tab bar, first we need to select frame, so let's click F and click, so it will create 100 by 100 frame. So for this frame let's first change the color so that you guys can see the changes. So let's select the light color. Let's simply align it to the frame. Now let's divide by 4 because we have 4 menu icons, so let's make it divide by 4, so this. And for the height let's try to use maybe 80. In this section let's first grab the icon. So for the icon we will be using status icon, so this home icon I have already typed, so let's use this icon. I think 24 is fine for now, and let's select text tool here and we will type home. Okay, so now let's make the home same width of the icon. Let's align it, so let's use 8 or maybe let's try to use 12. Okay, so 12 is good, and height is also fine. For the color let's make this black color, and now let's duplicate. So now the second one is, so we need to change the icon. So for the icon let's try to use, let's say to change this color, so let's try to make it slightly gray. For this icon maybe we can change it to blue. This is selected status. Now select all these 4 items, convert this to auto layout, send it, align it with the bottom of the screen. Okay, so as we can see our home screen is done, and this is basically the challenge 2 and redesign of the Uber home screen. We analyzed that this is the best approach in our mind. Okay, so that's it, and hope you like the tutorial. Let me know in the comments and also like the video. Thanks.